Goose Hunter. I've been hunting geese for a few years now. Hunting's addictive because it gets you in the outdoors for one. I love the fall, and I love the challenge of it. There's so many different ways that you are challenged in order to hunt geese or hunt waterfowl. Geese are smart animals, so you got to call them. So if your calling is off, then they're not going to come close. You've got to get them within range, otherwise you're not going to be able to hit them. Camouflage and concealment, you're always working on that and adapting to whatever surroundings are around you. And your marksmanship, you got to be able to hit what you're shooting.
Bake them.
I mean, you're using shotguns, the range is very limited, and it's hard. It's hard work. And there's different locations that one can use. So crown land, it's open to anybody. Private land, if you want to use private land, you need permission from whoever owns that land. So hunting geese, hunting waterfowl, typically you're gonna need to know a farmer or have permission from a farmer. And they're normally quite good, and they're normally quite understanding. Geese cause a lot of problems for farmers. They eat their crops, so they don't like them. So you're actually doing a farmer a favor. By no means am I an expert. I've only been doing this for a couple of years, but I think every year that I do it, you get better, and in every hunt you learn something, and you're constantly making mistakes and the same mistakes over and over again, which prove to be vital lessons. In terms of the tactics involved, I mean, there's many things to consider. So wind is a big factor. So geese will tend to always want to land into the wind. If you're using decoys, your decoys need to be in a certain pattern. If the geese don't like the pattern that you've set them out in, i.e. it's not natural, then they're not going to land. So the challenging part is always trying to get them super close. You'll always have to conceal yourself. Birds, geese, they hear, they see, so they'll see movement, they'll see color. So you got to be dressed like your surroundings, and you got to hide away anything in color. And you got to be disciplined. So when they're coming in, you can't be fidgeting, you can't be looking up at them because they'll see faces, and that'll bust you, and they'll just fly away, and you'll be unsuccessful. When geese see a threat or a perceived threat, when you watch them, they'll never fly over a perceived threat. They'll fly around it. If you were to just stand in an open field, geese won't land. And it's kind of ironic because within the city, geese will, but in the country they won't. And geese are smart. They know when they're safe, and they know when they're not. So that's why you'll see in the cities and parks, a goose won't get out of the way on the bike path, and he'll hiss at you. But you come out into the fields, and geese will stay away from you at all costs. So it's a very different game, and it's confusing to understand at first, but that's just the way it is. So when you're hunting them out in the country, you got to be camouflaged, because if they see you, they're not landing. In order to bring them, into that effective range of your firearm, one of the things that we do is we put out decoys. So, plastic replica geese, and the reason for those is to form a pattern. So geese like to work in numbers. So geese that have already landed in an area and have secured it will form a certain pattern, and they normally form that pattern based on security and based on winds, so other geese can land safely because they're all team players. They all work together. So a classic formation that geese are going to be in is a V formation, or like an arrowhead formation, and they will do that facing into the wind to indicate to the geese flying above that one, it's safe for them to land, and they're giving them the direction of the wind so the geese can come in and land in that safety bubble of the geese already on the ground. Only take shots that you're confident you can take and you can hit. And if you're not confident in that shot, then you shouldn't be taking it. Inevitably and unfortunately, there will always be shots that you'll take that you were confident in, and the bird does not die right away. So you injure it, you need to finish it off as quickly as possible so the bird isn't suffering. So everybody's familiar with the term poaching and poachers. I don't believe poaching is good at all. If you're hunting and if you're doing it in an ethical and moral manner, then there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And I think the less poachers we had out there, the better rap hunters would have, because the majority of hunters out there are incredibly ethical and they're trying to do it the right way and harvest meat in a proper way for the animals so they're not suffering. I think that if you're hunting and you're not consuming that animal in any way, that's unethical hunting, and you probably shouldn't be hunting. So for me, every animal that I take and that I harvest is used for food. Feathers can be used for other things, for making pillows. jackets and other hobbies, but the main purpose for me is consumption. So there's lots of meat on a goose, and they're great eating, and it's as natural and pure as meat can get. There's no artificiality in goose meat at all. It's straight from Mother Nature and straight on your dinner plate. I think you would find it very hard to find an argument against people growing plants and vegetables in their garden, to be sustainable and have less impact on the environment and food industry and all that. And I don't think there is an argument against people doing that. I think that's a good thing. So I would say the same about hunting. If you're able to provide for yourself and go out and harvest your own meat, it's the exact same thing as growing tomatoes in your own backyard. There is always the argument that we live in a world where we don't need to hunt and provide our own meat. I don't agree with that. Everything needs to come from somewhere. I do think that taking a life and taking an animal's life, there is a bit of sadness that comes with that. In some ways, it's not nice, but I do think that that makes you more human if you are able to participate in the act of getting your own meat and not being so ignorant as to just meat coming off the meat tree. So if you shop for meat, then that's all good. But if you can't do it yourself, then I do think that makes you a little bit of a hypocrite. Some people will choose to be vegan, some people will choose to be vegetarian, and that's fine. That's your choice as a free citizen. For those people who choose not to be, well, that's their choice. And, nature is nature. We have herbivores and we have carnivores in the kingdom, and we have omnivores, and it's just fact that humans are omnivores. So, meat eater, vegetable eater. I do think it's important that if you take something or if you consume something, you should know where that comes from. And if you can participate in that, it just makes you a more well-rounded person.